questions related to the apartment, what the buffer will, that we've described existing lot owners on 46 and the multifamily.
Right. And the Plan Commission is going to have some discretion around that. So, because those homes along 46 and a couple along 500 as well that would adjoin the property are zoned agriculture rather than residential. The zoning ordinance does not have a trigger for any kind of buffer automatically, say when this property develops. So if there's desire for a buffer, as you noted, Laura, especially between the multifamily zoning, if that were to proceed, and those single family neighbors, the commission would have the ability now as part of the rezoning to add that as a commitment. So the staff is recommending a type B buffer, which is what the zoning ordinance would typically require between multifamily and property that's zoned single family residential. So in a type B buffer, it's going to include an additional 15 feet of setback and some landscape material, variable landscape material, not a 100% opaque tree screen, for example, but some additional distance and some additional plant material. Certainly, like I said, the commission has discretion over that. So if you feel that's either not appropriate or you feel like something more is appropriate, that's something that the commission can add as a commitment on the rezoning that would run with the land. And then whenever that development occurred, that buffer would be a part of that.
And the type B, is that a standard between, I guess, single family and multifamily normally? Because they're zoned agriculture, but they're single family.
Correct. Yeah, we drew our inspiration from what the zoning ordinance would require. If those single family homes were actually zoned single family residential, it's the type B buffer that would be required.
Something we can look at later when they come with a site plan and we can see where the building is and what, oh no, it needs more buffer.
It is not.
To do it now.
Yeah, I think, once the zoning's in place, that site plan review would be really just a matter of making sure that what was proposed met all of the requirements in the zoning ordinance. You do not have a discretionary opportunity with that. So that discretion lies now with the rezoning. So this would be the time to specify any buffer requirement.
So type B, recommendation is for residential to the residential, even type B is the recommendation for the apartments.
Correct.
Because I do think the lighting and things like that, parking requirements of apartments is a little bit more intrusive than not. But one other question. So as Western Hills character area defines preserving natural features such as topography and wooded areas. And as Chris reminded us all, when we rezone this, we're rezoning it for no matter who owns it from now until eternity. So I guess how much weight does the Western Hills character area of the comp plan hold versus how much understanding that we know what their vision is with cluster development and the preservation of, it's a really unique natural site with features that are worth somewhat protecting. I don't know what the question is, but
I don't even.
If you could, if we put RS4 over the whole site, theoretically, could the next person come in and clear cut and grade down the whole site flat and put in 7,000 lots? I mean, exaggerated by numbers. I haven't calculated that in my head.
475 is basically the maximum.
So I guess that's my question is there value understanding that the next developer may, or if this falls through, or does this language hold enough weight that it protects that idea?
So that language is comprehensive plan language. Yeah. So it's part of, a significant number of policies and recommendations that all factor into the Plan Commission's decision around, and the City Council's decision around the rezoning. that statement would not be applicable at the next step when they would come with the subdivision plat.
We're chasing after lot standards, not density. And
Yeah,
if it makes the commission more comfortable, that you could allow 475 homes, we'll commit that there won't be more than 300.
yeah. That would make me feel a little better, I guess, when it comes to what the site looks like. Because yeah, what you just said, this statement, when we're reviewing site plan, no longer matters.
Correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
so if this statement matters, I mean, I'm speaking for myself as a commissioner. Yeah, my opinions.
2 cents.
That's for the rezoning of the RS4 specific.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then just make sure I'm understanding correctly. I know we've had some questions around RS4 and its lot sizing. The lot sizing is a minimum. There is no maximum. So they could increase those lot sizes, whatever makes sense within the building areas. They're just looking to have maximum flexibility based on the topography of their lot.
That's correct. There's no
I-
maximum lot size.
Along those lines, I think this fits into what you're saying, Laura. So I would almost rather see a 6,000 square foot lot and everybody has 30 acres to do trails on and things compared to everybody has a 10,000 square foot lot. And so I don't, you asked earlier, what's my question? I'm not sure. If we agree on that, do we want to somehow put some kind of language in there that talks about try to avoid long skinny lots that people could then fence, restrict wildlife flow, diminish potential trails for everybody to use, things like that? Or do we want to just leave it and let them? do
I
what they
feel
want?
comfortable with the idea that there's a maximum lot number. I don't want to get into design yet. That's what great designers are for.
But we might not see this again, right? They might meet all the stuff.
You will see it. So
We'll see it.
You will see it again. You'll see the subdivision.
So we
plat.
would be able to affect buffer distance at that point, or no?
But you will see it again in terms of reviewing the subdivision plat.
Yeah.
You will not have that kind of discretion when you see it again.
Not that powerful. Okay.
Not that instance.
Don't let it go to your head.
So was that 300 that number that we were talking about, is that the RS4 designation or is that for RM as well? Total? Is that what you're thinking, Laura? Or
I was just
RS4.
referencing the RS4 where there's such diversity of landscape and the floodway and
Yeah.
all that exists on that site. I just would hate to see it just be clear cut.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mentioned this.
I would kind of hate to see as well that all the potential usable space by everyone gets taken up by long skinny stuff off the roads that really you can't use if you own it because you only have 50 feet for 300 feet back. And so what are you going to do with it? I'd almost rather see that smaller and make it common, put mulch down trails and stuff like that. But I guess we leave that up to them. Okay.
They're gonna build what's sellable.
Yeah. So
Hopefully would prefer smaller lots with more trail space.
I would, but.
There'd be a lot of room for trail space.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of area we can't even.
right.
I've
long
been
as it's not
involved in the
flooded.
development
Yeah.
of, in the last 10 years, of over 5,000 lots. And that's the trend in the industry is to really maximize the amenity area and open space.
Gotcha.
And people would rather have a homeowners association take care of that. And then it only takes 15 minutes to cut their yard and then they're going to amenity space.
Thank you. Great sentence. Cool. And there were 3 questions asked by the public. I think we can answer really quick. One was Mr. Dennis. I missed your last name, but you were worried, you brought up the height of apartment building potentially conflicting with air traffic. The maximum height in RS or RM, excuse me, is 50 feet for the apartment building. And there are trees out there taller than that. So I think we'd be okay there. Another question was, what if there's a house fire in the subdivision and a car wreck at the same time on 46? One of the great things about this area is we have a fire station at Terrace Lake Road, which might be the closest coming from east. And then we also have a fire station out German Township, I think it is, by the water tower back there, which, so it's kind of attacked from both sides potentially. Harrison, yeah.
Voluntary fire.
So that,
And
Grateful for
Georgetown
that.
becomes an alternative route.
right. And there'd be 2 access points from either Belmont or 500 West. So that's great. And then Mrs. Henry asked about who would be in charge of maintenance on the roads and things like that. So the developer builds the roads and pays for it. They build it to the city specs. And then once it's done, the city, people move in, things like that, start paying taxes, and the city takes over the maintenance of the roads with plowing the snow and things like that.
But that's not necessary for 500.
500, the city would take over anything annexed in, everything else would be county highway.
County.
County is still 500. I got you. You're asking specific about 500. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Those were the three. Thank you, Michael.
Any other questions or discussions? Yes.
I got another question for Andrew. I'm not so concerned. I'm convinced that, we have a stoplight that'll do it, but when we annex this, it's gonna open up a lot of other property to annexation to the north. So this 500 issue we've got is not just a problem for this road. And I'm thinking something like Tally Road, that's been on the books for 20 years and we're just now doing it. Are there any plans on the comprehensive plan to improve 500? I mean, I could see stuff being developed very quickly out there because even this lot wasn't even eligible for development 5 years ago or whatever. Is there anything you know of?
No, but I believe the MPO is about ready to start a new long-range plan, so.
That was kind of a loaded question because I didn't think there was anything, but I wasn't
NPO?
sure.
What's NPO?
Metropolitan Planning Organization, they're the transportation authority that does long-term terrain.
In Columbus specifically? Or well, that'd be county, I guess.
Yeah, Columbus and Planning Department.
Gotcha.
Questions?
Couple things. Did we ever close it to public comment?
Yes.
Want to make sure we close the loop. We talked about a little bit, 30 home threshold prior to improving 500. That's 30 homes in the RS4. What about the apartment? So does the apartment, is that an either or? Is it both? Because that could be just as much, if not more, traffic on 500.
It would need to be both. It applies, I think, to both. So it's both.
So 30 from
It's
either.
30, whatever, 30 dwelling
30
units,
units?
whether it's on the RM, whether it's on the RS4
So if the apartment complex got built,
first.
it would be a trigger to improve. So it's just 30 dwelling units. It's not necessarily 30 homes.
Yes.
Okay, I'd feel more comfortable with that. Because it wasn't specific. And I think we also have to be specific about what those improvements are. What is the right of way currently on 500?
80 feet for 145 feet to the north of 46.
But
Here.
where it's skinny, because we can do some things there, but where it's along most of its length from where this entrance is going to be back to 46, what is our current right of way?
There's not a lot besides at the intersection.
There's-
Some on the west, Andrew,
There's a little bit
more than on
more.
the east.
Yeah.
I think our report said what it was. I'm just trying to recall
I
what
thought
it,
it
Yeah,
fit.
it's the standard county 15 feet on the
Yeah.
east. and
From
then
the
it's
center
varied-
line?
From the center line. And then it's variable on the west because there's been some subdivisions and there's some right of way dedication in places, but not in others,
Right.
on that west side.
yeah, it looks like it's wider for a good chunk of it, but then there's a little piece where it shuts in. I was curious without additional right of way or eminent domain, what improvement could be made on 500?
I think it's gonna be pretty limited besides in front of their frontage where they're dedicating the right of way for their half.
Is there pavement? Someone mentioned potholes. Is there opportunity to improve the pavement from that entrance all the way to 46 or no?
I don't believe that required like overlaying.
County.
Yeah.
And it's county road.
Yeah, it's county.
So then if we're talking about improvements on 500, really the only thing that we're talking about is adding that turn lane within the 145 feet of right of way that we do have at the intersection with 46. improvement that we could
Potential.
currently make.
Cause it's 500 flares out pretty good at the intersection.
It does, but it's not enough for dedicated right-hand two
No,
exit lanes.
yeah,
And that's, with the additional traffic, that's kind of my thinking is like, you got to have at least where the right-handers can, or the westbound folks can bypass those people waiting to turn left. Because I think we're going to have some pretty serious bottlenecks. I think there already are some decent bottlenecks there.
We want a third lane at the intersection.
There's 80 feet of pavement there.
it's, yeah.
And it's wide.
You can currently, if
You could
someone's
get
turning
to- you
left, you
get-
can get past them to
Yeah.
turn right.
Yeah.
Trouble is then they
And it might
can't
be just a
see who's coming and they
striping.
can't turn left.
As easy as just some paint.
Yeah.
Well,
And I
and
don't
if
know what
it's-
NDOT's take would be on trying to widen that approach either.
Right, they'd have to sign anything
Mhm.
within 150 feet of a highway is their domain
Mhm.
anyway. But I think this is an opportunity to get some improvement there to increase safety without putting an undue burden on the developer either. It's doable, but not so burdensome is kind of where I'm headed.
And our condition C basically
Yeah,
says
that's
they're
it.
going to get with you and do whatever you want on
Yeah.
it, basically. The wording on that. They'll improve the intersection.
That's the condition.
I like that. Andrew's got it.
And that does include restriping of lanes or
Yeah.
similar improvements as specifically mentioned there, just to note that.
Any other questions or discussions before we get our staff recommendation? All right, Jeff, I think you're up.
All right, well, we'll go first with the annexation. And her report, and it's in your staff report, this property meets the state mandated criteria in that it is adequately contiguous to the city limits. As we do with every annexation request, we also did reach out to other city department heads to verify that they would be able to provide services to the property if annexed. I think it has been discussed, sewer and water were extended to the area with the Belmont project. So they are available there. The other city departments indicated that they did not have any concerns about their ability to serve the property. Other than noting, which they typically do for us and for the city council, that obviously as the city grows, they will continue to need more resources. You know, those who pick up the trash, for example, police, fire, et cetera. But no specific objections to providing service at this property. So for those reasons, staff would recommend sending a favorable recommendation to city council on the annexation request.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to council on the annexation request.
We have a first, do we have a second? Second by Dave. All right, the motion is to approve. Send a favorable recommendation. Please fill out your cards and send them.
What is the date today?
It's 14.
I have to.
Years going, yeah. Who you are. Okay.
Eleven in favor, motion carries.
All right, moving on.
All right. Oh, I do have a question for you, if that's all right. You all didn't talk a lot about the multifamily here. You've talked about it somewhat with us at staff level. And my specific recollection is, in your mind, that could be a variety of things. It's not necessarily an apartment complex. And I wonder, maybe before you don't have the floor anymore, if you could talk a little bit about what options you see for that multifamily piece, and then why that's integral to the development. Why not the whole property is RS4, for example?
Yeah,
1-story type of. Look at 2, 3-story type of product. So.
Sorry to interrupt, but those of us on WebEx cannot hear the speaker.
Oops.
The multifamily portion can take a number of different turns, a number of different products. Anywhere from a build to rent community, which are all single family homes owned by one entity, to a duplex type product, to a 3-story, 3 or 4 building product. And I wouldn't see, frankly, I don't really see a tall type of product in that vicinity, but we wanted to obviously be complementary of what we're doing on the housing side as well. We don't want something that stands out and doesn't blend well with the existing housing product. So we would have that in mind as well. But we haven't, that's been secondary, frankly, on our radar. We're now more interested in getting going with the housing lots. So I don't know if that answers you specifically, Jeff.
Mhm. Yeah, it does. Thank you. All right. So, looking at the rezoning piece, some things that were influential for staff, obviously is the growth trend in this area, really started by the Belmont, and the steps that were taken with that project, to then enable additional development around it, bring utilities to the sites, the stub streets, certainly are influential, and a key consideration in, like I said, enabling further development. I think it's clear to everybody that the presence of the new elementary school is also going to fuel development in this area as well. And there are many positives to having neighborhoods in close proximity to school locations. So, I think the biggest concern is traffic and access. I think as we've discussed from the staff's point of view, this property has 3 high classification roads that are around it, starting with 46. Belmont, which was designed as a collector street to then take additional traffic beyond just what's there at Belmont. And then 500, understanding that both short and longer term, there will need to be some improvements to 500, which really is frequently the case when we see development projects that usually we will see a combination of initial improvements by the developer, followed by the city taking on a project in that area as well. Think about Abbey Place and Lowell Road as an example of that. Staff's certainly mindful of the comprehensive plan content that really encourages us to broaden opportunities for diversity of housing as well. And certainly in terms of the specific zoning request, the RS4 and the small area of RM, I think from staff's point of view, flexibility is going to be needed given a lot of the unique features of this property, and really probably what will be the necessity to develop in clusters as the applicants have described. So the staff recommendation is going to be favorable on the rezoning to the city council. I would include, I think we're up to 5 commitments, and I'll go through those. First 3 are from the staff report. The first one is the development of that multifamily area resulting from the rezoning shall include the type B buffer as specified in the zoning ordinance, where that adjoins the homes along State Road 46 and or 500 West. And that buffer will be installed prior to occupancy of any development on that multifamily property. The second one deals with traffic concerns, and that is that prior to any development of the subject property, the developer subdivider shall provide an update to the previous completed Belmont project traffic study that incorporates the development of the subject property as well as the development of the planned new elementary school. The primary intent of the traffic study is to document the evolving development and traffic conditions on the site, and really provide information to NDOT with the intent to justify that stoplight. So from staff's point of view, that is really step one to address the traffic concerns, which is to get that traffic light at Belmont Drive. That traffic study and meeting those warrants and documenting those warrants are met from NDOT really is step one of that. And our recommendation is that this condition be included that tasks this developer with that traffic study update. Third is deals with these improvements to 500 West. And what we're recommending there is at the time that development of subject property includes any vehicle access to 500 West, improvements at the intersection of 500 West and State Road 46 will take place. With those improvements being on the north side of 46 within the existing right-of-way. We're not trying to imply the developer has a responsibility to somehow acquire right-of-way on property that's not part of their project. Those improvements are to be specified by the city engineer in coordination with NDOT and may include, but not be limited to, clearing of vegetation and grading to improve sight distance, restriping of lanes and or stop bar locations or other similar improvements. And that those improvements will be complete prior to occupancy of the development.
So that is not the 30 units.
It's whenever they extend a
So
road
very
that touches
one.
500. Yeah.
Okay.
And that only includes the right of way adjacent to their property, not the intersection of 46 and 5.
This
This
speaks
is
to the intersection. Yep. Yeah, as soon as the intent here is as soon as they have a road in their development that's going to be putting any amount of traffic on 500, that triggers whatever improvements are possible with the existing right of way there at the intersection. And then I will also incorporate two others that I think were generated from discussion here today, which is there'll be a maximum of 300 single-family residential homes on the proposed RS4 portion of the property. And then finally, you all didn't say this specifically, but I would recommend adding a commitment that no apartment development will occur until access is provided to both 500 West and Belmont Drive.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve RZ 2025-003 and acknowledge all of the commitments outlined by Jeff.
All right. We have a second.
Second that.
Back on the second. Any questions on the motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's the last one you mentioned, I'm calling it 2E, but no apartment work can be done until there's access to 500 West. In my head, I'm thinking any apartment traffic would head to Belmont going west. But I just don't want to put undue stress on you guys. I mean, if you were intending to do 30 units in the apartment area first, without access to 500 West, that last one just,
If they did 30, they'd still require that second access because they'd hit that limit.
Well, and not necessarily. That 30 units is a function of the subdivision control ordinance. So that speaks to that RS4 area that would be subdivided with lots. And the subdivision control ordinance would require those two access points. There is not a similar requirement with regard to multifamily.
Okay.
So if we want to make sure there's two access points for the apartment, we need to include that as a commitment.
so they could. I was not of RM, right? So they could do a whole bunch of units, as it is, they could do a whole bunch of units on the RM portion without getting to 500 West because the 30 unit doesn't apply there.
Right.
So we want to make sure it applies. If you're starting with the apartment area, you need to do the 46.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, now I get it. Nice catch, Jeff.
And where's that, once the access to 500 West is built, that triggers the improvements to 500 West. So if you build access to 500 West first, before 30 units, the improvements have to happen on,
So whatever comes first.
yep. Yes.
Any other questions on the motion? If not, fill out your cards and hand them in.
Nine yays and two nays. The two nays are Dennis Bowdy and Chris Bartels. Motion carries.
So for our applicants and equally, if not more so, for the neighbors who've joined us here, really want to reinforce that the action that the Plan Commission took on both of those questions, the annexation and the rezoning, are not final decisions. Those are recommendations that'll go on to City Council. And City Council make the final decision on both of those items. So Planning Department staff will work with city administration and city council to schedule those for a future city council meeting. I can tell you it won't be before their June 17th meeting. That would be the first opportunity. But I don't know specifically that that's going to be the date until we go through that scheduling process. So I would just, obviously we'll be in contact with the applicants around that schedule, but for neighbors, watch the council agendas. You're certainly welcome to call the planning department. I'd give us probably at least a week or two to get that scheduled, and then we'll be able to tell you when that date is for that city council meeting. But that's where that final decision will be made. And again, it will not be before their June 17th meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Michael.
Oh, okay. Let the meetings reflect.
We're striking him.
Do we get a break?
Break.
Someone needs to go wee.
Okay.
Yeah. A minute. I can get that on the screen.
Yeah, whole thing.
Jeff left, birthday left, dude.
I try to minimize that. He's gonna. Picture screen.
Hated to vote no on that. We've got to get some longer range roads.
Oh.
It's hit. I didn't see it.
No kidding.
Oh, okay. I thought it was supposed to be unexpected.
Quicker than what I thought it would.
Just, it right blocked, farm property to the north.
Didn't like to look at the back of everyone, just having
Yeah.
Brad phone on.
With the
Say, I was like, you're about to just crash the whole system
right,
out.
given our experience last month.
Yeah.
I had some reluctance to.
You're just like, it's working, it's doable. All right.
This one says, no, 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 no.
Yeah. All righty. Let's move on to our next agenda item. This will be in our new business. Now we'll move on to PP 2025 001 Wildflower Ridge Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat, a request by Silverthorne Home for preliminary plat approval to create 42 lots and 4 common areas over 23.36 acres. This project also includes 3 modifications to allow dead-end streets to exceed 150 feet in length. The property is located near the intersection of Wild Orchard Way Drive north of Wildflower Estate in the city of Columbus. And I'll just- I think we can continue, but we can wait if we want. Should be voting on it.
Yeah, we can continue.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's get through.
All right. So as stated, this is the preliminary for the property, approximately 23 acres. The site is here outlined in the yellow line. This is an image of the zoning map of the city. The different colors represent different zoning districts. The gray around the top of the image represents a property that's zoned agriculture preferred. Properties shown in orange, which the site is completely located within, is property that's zoned residential single family 3. And property shown there in yellow is another single family zoning district. Properties are zoned residential single family 2. And just a brief history on the for those who might remember this from recent past. In 2015, Plan Commission actually approved a preliminary plat for subdivision here. At the time, the applicants were moving forward. In 2016, the Plan Commission approved a revision to that same preliminary plat. No work was done on site, and in 2022, the approval for that initial Wildflower Ridge project. So that is why we're here today. The image on the screen, zoomed in image of the subject property, again outlined in yellow, and area shaded there in blue it shows the limits of the FEMA mapped floodplain and floodway, just for reference. I will note that drawings, the applicant has more than accommodated space to a floodplain and to locate development outside of that. So here's just a brief summary of the applicant is proposing a division of 42 lots and 4 common areas. Again, approximately totaling 23 acres. This will be done in 2 sections. Daylily Drive would be extended to the north over an existing bridge that goes over Possum Creek. There's a stub street called Periwinkle Lane that will also be into the site over a new bridge that will need to be built over Possum Creek. And I also note that in common area labeled Common Area A, there is a drainage pond shaded there in the concept plan on the screen. As stated in the summary, the applicant is requesting 3 modifications. Those 3 modifications are each from the same section of the zoning ordinance, or the subdivision control ordinance. That section requires temporary dead end streets to be no longer than 150 feet in length, and the lots, the streets highlighted here in the red circles show the 3 stub streets that will exceed that 150 feet. Honeysuckle Lane is the proposed street that will be stubbing to the north. That road is proposed to be 165 feet long. Lavender Lane, the west end of Lavender Lane, which is the new east and west road in the development, that stub street will be 162 feet in length, and the east end of Lavender Lane stub street will be 202 feet in length. This is just a zoomed in image of the concept plan showing those temporary turnarounds on each side of Lavender Lane. So this is the west the west side of Lavender Lane, that stub street there. The proposed temporary turnaround would be 20 feet wide by 80 feet in length. It'll be constructed of gravel. And again, just for reference, the intent of these temporary turnarounds is to just safely facilitate the needs of fire trucks and emergency vehicles in responding to an emergency at the ends of these subdivisions before they're built out. And similarly, here is the east end of Lavender Lane. The temporary turnaround shown here is a hammerhead design that is proposed to be 20 feet wide by 120 feet in length total from each end of that hammerhead, and also be constructed of gravel. And here are some site photos. So this is Daylily Drive that is proposed to be extended north. Like I said before, there's an existing bridge that was built as part of the Wildflower development shown there. It currently is just a terminating street. And this is the stub street of Periwinkle Lane that is proposed to be extended north. These are the decision criteria for the modifications before you today, and your options for the subdivision, the preliminary plat. Answer any questions.
Do we have any questions?
A quick question. Do we feel like just the one Honeysuckle Lane stub north is adequate for this size of development? Just from you, Andrew's perspective?
Yeah, and there's some topography there that would make another stub street north a challenge.
Okay.
Any other questions?
It looks like it's a line that's not line. For example, between 29 and 30, I see two lines with dead space in between them. Is that just because there's one line laid in there that's not applicable? Or is that like a sidewalk easement or something? On the top between 30 and 29?
I think there's a section line.
Okay, got it. So it's not a lot line. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, with that, I'd like to introduce you guys self and add anything on. Can you hit the button real quick? I think it's the button. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. I'm Lance McElroy with Silverthorne Homes. It's Kevin Sumner with Y Engineers. And Andre has pretty much explained it to the extent it's already an existing zoned planned last section of a subdivision that is there. I think what went through previously had more lots on it. We've actually reduced the lots down to 42. That was mainly to get out of the flood, not be, try to make sure pit story storage was not a problem as far as the drainage that was out there in the creek. We're doing this in two sections in case anyone does have a question. There is an existing bridge that is there. We've also learned that 30 lots is the maximum on one entryway. So 42 lots exceeds 30. And we're not going to be able to get that second bridge constructed this year at all. We won't even have it permitted. So that's why we're doing a small 25 lot section off the existing bridge, and we'll finish up the development once we get the second bridge permitted next year.
Any questions for applicants?
I got one question. This might sound very stupid, but as a Sierra Club member, is it too late to change the name from Honeysuckle Lane, given the fact that, people are tearing honeysuckles out of all the.
Honeysuckle's the word.
That's a different meeting.
It's terrible.
So the Plan Commission does have authority over street names.
What do you want to name it?
Not a good choice.
Your question is legit.
Yeah.
Bowdy Drive.
Bowdy Drive.
Anti honeysuckle.
Prepare.
That's what
How about-
That's my. If you don't mind the jog, I'll just continue. We could continue calling Daylily Drive.
Daylili's okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up.
I thought the same thing when I read
The
it.
other thing.
Like, ew.
Any other questions? All right, then this is a public hearing. I will open this up to public comment. Does anybody wish to speak on this topic tonight? Yes, sir. I saw either who. You can speak. We'll get to both of you. Don't worry. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
The mic. Oh, he's got to set his stuff down.
My name is Jeffrey Neerman. I live on Daisy Court, basically in eyeshot of this proposed new plat. Yeah, I'm not convinced after discussion with staff that the existing covenants and restrictions on the existing wildflower estates is going to apply to this area. I look at, and I'm extremely concerned by the property north of the new road to constructed, and south lots 40 through 35. Those appear to me to be rather small compared to the rest of the lots in Wildflower Commons addition. And it would appear to me that it would be appropriate for a plat to be approved that it somewhat mirror the addition that is next to it. And those lots that I mentioned do not come close to mirroring the lots on the existing addition. They're very small. There is a subdivision across the road, 200 South, that has these very small lots in it. And it is not eye appealing as the addition in the existing wildflower estates. I know Columbus wants to be the Athens of the prairie, and I'm not certain that having small homes on top of one another stacked like cordwood definition of being the Athens of the prairie. I understand from staff that this board will not address or not hear information concerning the covenants and restrictions. If that is in error, I'd be willing to talk about that. I also think that the streets, although they may meet code, are not sufficiently wide. If two cars are parked, one on either side of the roads in the current edition, there is a narrow one-lane road for vehicular traffic. And I question whether or not a pretty good sized fire truck could get through where those two vehicles are parked. Also concerned regarding the traffic. There's Daylily and the other road that's coming in. And there's 42 lots, 40 lots. As one gentleman stated earlier, each house probably is going to have the equivalent of two 2 cars, maybe 3. And that's going to place a great deal of stress on those 2 roads going into and out of the proposed plat, just because of the sheer number of lots. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this evening. If we are permitted to talk about the covenants, I would be happy to do that, but I've been told I cannot. So I will not. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dan Thomas. I'm representing the HOA Wildflower Estates and Commons. I've had some questions and some comments. Some of them have come from me personally, but some of them come from our residents who can't be here. We have a Facebook page, so it's just overwhelmed with these kind of things. So I want to just go through them quickly. Back in 2015, when that not covenant, but the plat is expired in 2022. We had been telling the residents that the maximum lots that were beyond that area was 37. And that was the number that was quoted to us every year. And we also, during our annual meeting, talked about that. Now it's gone up to 42. I mean, that's only 5, but 5 is a lot in that small of an area. So we just want to get a better understanding of if we're stuck with those small, tiny lots like that, what's the price point of the homes are going to be? That's one question. Also, Jeffrey mentioned that that it would be nice if that subdivision wants to be built would mirror Wildflower Commons. And Commons is rated with a 3. The Wildflower Estates, which is on the west side of the development, is a 2. I'm also told this new development will also be a 3. I talked to the Joe Connor, who developed those 2 subdivisions, and he told me that yes, those are rated 3, but in most respects, those lots are a lot bigger than a normal 3 would be. So they're what I would call premium lots. And that's why if you go through, and we've got a lot of space in between these homes. And I think people like that because they've got kids and it just gives them some freedom. And the one thing also is the traffic, as was mentioned. The concern is there's an awful lot of kids running around the streets, and the main thoroughfare going into that addition will be Daly Drive. And I just think it really presents a lot of problems for us. Also, and I'm not sure if the city has thought about this, but 200